Dr. Haynes with the Podiatry Mindshift podcast. We're here today to record episode number 2. I apologize, episode 1 was a little quiet at the beginning. We're going to do our best to make sure this one's a little bit better. However, we are new at doing these podcasts. Today's episode, I want to talk more about hiring staff, hiring doctors, getting your clinic up and running. So number one, you really need to have good protocols and procedures in place. You need to make sure that every single position within your clinic has defined tasks and procedures that need to be completed from a day-to-day basis to a weekly basis to a monthly basis. That's number one, because you want to have those done first, because those are what you're going to need to really utilize when you're evaluating and interviewing possible employees. Now, one key thing for me is I tend to hire more on personality. That goes with both my accessory staff, like my medical assistants, my receptionists, as well as my doctors. In podiatry, you know that you're going to get a lot of doctors that will be applying for your jobs. And if you're hiring an associate, you're going to get this CV or this resume that's going to say, hey, I do rear foot, I do complex deformities, I do trauma. And you're right, not everybody wants to do those. Not everybody's interested in doing those. But you'll find that everybody will list that, because that's our training. We go through 3 years of that reconstructive rear foot dynamic where we're getting all this exposure. So every CV is going to say they do that. So for me, when I put a job out there, I tell in the ad, I state in the ad that I don't care that you do rear foot complex trauma. I don't care that you do X fixes. I don't care that you do total ankles. I want to know what your personality is, because I want to know, can you work with me? Can you work with my other doctors? Can you work with my other employees? So personality to me is key number one. When I go from that, I tend to look more at, what have they done? What do they do in their training? That's kind of secondary to me. When I interview receptionists or medical assistants, again, I don't care so much on their experience, because I can train them. In fact, I found it harder to train somebody that's already been a medical assistant for another podiatrist, because I get a lot of, well, in my other office, we did this. Well, at my past job, we did this. I would much rather hire a brand new medical assistant and train them the way I want them trained. So once again, I'm going to hire them based on personality, not on experience. Receptionists, again, personality is key, because they're going to be talking to your patients on a daily basis. Can they deal with pressure? Because they're going to get a lot of angry patients. Do they know how to get things done without asking questions every time? Because nothing looks worse in front of a patient when they have to continually ask questions about how to do X, Y, or Z. Finally, in my office, I use a lot of virtual assistants. If you do not use virtual assistants in your office, I would highly encourage you to look into that. For me, I use a company called DocAssistMe. Feel free to look at them at docassistme.com. Virtual assistants are remote employees, is the best way to state what they are. For me, they work in the Philippines. They speak great English. Some of them have a little bit more of an accent than another, but they do speak fluent English, because they're required to learn that over in the Philippines. And for me, I use them for a variety of tasks. I have my virtual assistants do my social media posts. I have my virtual assistants answer my phones. I have my virtual assistants doing eligibility, pre-authorization, surgery scheduling. I also have them following up on claims and billing. So there's a whole host of things that you can have your virtual assistants do. I currently employ 8 of them. However, as I stated in my last podcast, I have 6 clinics. So I have a lot of them doing a lot of different things in the background. The great thing about these virtual assistants is they typically cost you about $10 an hour, which is fantastic, considering that most employees nowadays want upwards of $25, $30 an hour. They'll do a lot of that tedious work that you don't want your employees hung up on the phone for 3 hours trying to get done. Let's see, they are it's great for them. It's a win-win for both parties. Virtual assistants, they tend to make especially in the Philippines, a lot of mine are nurses. I even have, there's some pharmacists and some even other high, educated professionals that are virtual assistants. They just make more money doing this than they did at their normal profession. So it's a win for them because they're making more money. They can better support their families. And it's a win for us because we're not having to pay so much to get a lot of the work done that we need to get done. As you know, with decreasing reimbursements, increasing costs, you have got to find ways to reduce your costs in order to become more profitable. AI is another tool that's still expanding. I think from a scribe standpoint, AI can be fantastic. However, I still currently use a virtual assistant. I just feel like more can get done having a nice person actually doing those tasks. Again, with the virtual assistants, the great thing is there's no payroll taxes because there are offshore employees. There's no vacation time. You can offer it if you'd like, but you're not required to. There's no overtime, and they usually are willing to work for whatever you need them to work because they want the money and they want the hours. They don't call in sick a lot of times. The only issue I tend to have is if they are having extreme weather situations over there. They sometimes have limited internet, which can then affect their ability to work for the day, but that comes very few. I mean, what else can I say? Again, if you're interested in virtual assistants, I highly recommend Doc Assist Me. They do take care of their employees. They pay for their employees' benefits, so it does really take care of them. I mean, a lot of these VAs, virtual assistants, or remote employees that I have purchased homes when they were not able to do so in the past. So we really are helping them become more successful in life. So reach out at Carrie or Kelly at docassistme.com if you're interested in getting a virtual assistant. One of the greatest steps I took in my practice was getting my first virtual assistant, and having 8 just makes my life so much easier and my other doctors and employees' lives much easier. So, definitely look into it. It's a way to become more efficient and become more just become more cost effective in your practice. What else? For me, it's I try to limit my staff because I have so many virtual assistants doing the back office stuff. I tend to have each doctor has one receptionist and one MA. If they do see a significant amount of patients, then I may include 2 MAs. However, I try to keep it lean. 2 reasons: I want my doctors working. I want my doctors being effective and efficient. But they also know that keeping overhead low just increases their pay. So put a lot of responsibility on your doctors. I'm not, for me, being the clinic owner and owning multiple clinics, I'm not afraid to clean a room. I'm not afraid to clean the office. I'm not afraid to help a patient with a note or a letter, fill out their paperwork. Those are just little things that I think sometimes we lose focus on what we're really trying to do here. Again, I'm a very big person on delegate tasks that are not worth your time. But sometimes, as you're representing your brand or your business, sometimes you got to do the little things to show that your staff that you're the leader, that you're the one that's really trying to make this business work. And that includes from coming in before all your other employees. I'm a big proponent of you should be the first one to the office and the last one out of the office. It shows your staff how much time you really put in to your practice and your business. At that same time, I do think that you shouldn't be spending 2 hours after clinic doing your notes. Have your virtual assistants or your AI doing your scribe. You should just be signing your notes at the end of the day and going home. Your staff should just be after the last patient, cleaning the rooms, and going home. You should not be in your office till 7 o'clock at night. At 5:30, you should be out that door. Um, we all know the saying, right? A happy wife is a happy life, right? So get home, be with your family, do more things. For me, hiring virtual assistants, getting my office running more efficiently. I coach my kids' basketball team. I coach my kids' baseball team. I play recreational softball and basketball after. I have time for myself. I go golfing at least once or twice a week, but yet I still run my clinics, right? So find time for yourself, because if you don't, you're going to burn out. So make sure you're doing those things as well. Um, as far as your doctors go, when we really dive into doctors, you know, keep your doctors close, but give your doctors a chance to do what your doctors want. In the fact that, if you have certain modalities in your clinic that tend to make more money than others, I mean, really educate your doctors on using those modalities without infringing on their ability to just treat patients. You don't want to dictate how they treat patients, but you don't also want them letting money go out the front door. What do I mean by that? All my offices have Shockwave, they all have laser, they all have an ABI, they all have the ability to do skin substitutes if they want. They have the ability to do fat pad injections, PRP. And I try to get them to do all those modalities, and I make them available, and I educate them how to do it, and I educate the staff on how to do it. And I try to get them to use those modalities, but I'm not forcing them. I don't have an SOP that says you must do PRP for X, Y, and Z. I think as time goes and patients come in asking for those modalities, your doctors will just eventually use those things. Cash pay modalities are one of the best things you can have in your office. So making sure you have those and having those available for your doctors, but then also educating your doctors to use those are some of the greatest tools you can have. Because once those machines have completed their return on investment and they're paid off, that's just cash in the bank, easy, over and over and over and over again. One of the biggest things that we do here is our laser for neuropathy. We get patients nonstop in for those, and those end up paying for our MLS lasers over and over again. We have great outcomes. Again, if you're not implementing things like shockwave laser, ultrasound, ABIs in your clinic, I really recommend you do so. Take a good look at that. And some of these machines are very expensive, and you may ask, I can't afford those. I can't afford not to get those in my clinic. They're just too much money. And some of the greatest advice that was given to me by Cindy Pezza, again, if you have not used her services, they're great for you when you're starting out, is she told me, I don't think you can afford not to implement those into your practice. And for me, that was starting out with the one simple shockwave. And from there, it's grown into multiple shockwaves, multiple lasers, as well as other cash pay modalities. So don't pigeonhole yourself into thinking you cannot afford to have these in your office. You need these in your office, and they will pay for themselves. I can promise you that. If you're looking for great advice on those types of modalities, look at things like, start out with like a REMI laser. Those are relatively inexpensive from a laser standpoint. If you're really trying to treat neuropathy, my recommendation would be an MLS laser. They're vastly more expensive, but they are better to use. If you're looking at a shockwave, I would go with what's called an Oceanus. They're relatively inexpensive. You can get them as cheap as $10,000. If you're interested in those, please reach out to me. I have some discounts I can get for you through Oceanus. I've worked with them directly and have purchased multiple units from them. So if Shockwave is something you're interested in, please let me know. ABIs, I use smart ABIs. They have all the way up from neuropathy and ABI units that are a little bit more expensive, what they call their smart ABI plus. I tend to have just the ones that We'll do simple and ABI and TBI because TBIs are more reliable than ABIs when it comes to diabetic testing. You can usually find those relatively kind of mid-range, 15,000. But reach out to Darren Hansen at Smart ABI. Sometimes he'll have some discounts or some refurbished models or some closeout models that you can grab a hold of. That's where I've purchased a lot of mine. But getting these types of modalities in your clinic can add revenue. I typically challenge each of my doctors to do X amount of ABIs a month, an X amount of lasers, X amount of shockwave, and then look for opportunities where you can use those. We currently are the podiatrist for the Oregon Ballet Theater. So all their ballet students, all their ballet professionals will come to us for shockwave and laser because they don't want surgery. They just want to rehab their injury and get back onto the stage. So they come to us for a lot of those things, which really helps generate our revenue for shockwave and laser. We also, for advertising purposes, we'll do, we've done Hello Rose City. We've also done AM Northwest, which are local morning shows where we'll pay to advertise and do a 5-minute segment. And we do a lot on laser. We've talked about shockwave and other things. Another big moneymaker is simply doing in-office surgeries. If this is something you're not doing, I would highly encourage you look into it as well. We have 2 of our 6 locations. We have 2 in-office surgical suites. Those work great for us because you bring the patients in-house. One of the biggest openers for me was when I was in residency. I was doing my general surgery rotation, and the general surgeon had this patient come in with a very huge lipoma on her back, and he basically put her prone on his chair, numbed it all up, and took out this big giant, about the size of an apple, lipoma out of her back. And for me, I'm thinking, why are we doing hammer toes? Why are we doing plantar fasciotomies? Why are we doing all these things in the surgery center or in the hospital when these can be done right here in our clinics if we have the space? So I did some training. I jumped out and started learning minimally invasive surgery. I built out my own surgical suite, which now I have my own mini C-arm. I have a high torque but low speed kind of burr for the surgical procedures for cutting bone and shaving down bone. I also have a tourniquet. I have cautery. I have all these things that I have in my office. So now I do bunions, I do hammer toes, I do plantar fasciotomies, I do Haglund's deformities, I do neuromas, I do metatarsalgia. All these things I do in my office. And the great thing about doing it in your office is you cut down on the time spent at the hospital. I no longer have to wake up at 6:30 a.m. to be at the hospital at 7 a.m. for a 7:30 surgery. And then I don't have to dictate. I don't have to go back to the hospital if there's excessive bleeding. So if you do a hammer toe at the hospital, you might spend 2 or 3 hours for a 15-minute hammer toe at the hospital. If I do it here in the clinic, surgery's at 9, I roll in at 8:55, and I'm out the door at 9:30, right? If that's the only surgery I have for the day. There's none of that waiting and wasted time. That's number one. Number two, typically insurance will pay you more to do it in the office versus in the hospital. And they do that because you're not paying for the facility fees. You're not paying for the anesthesia fees. They're not paying for the radiology fee. There's just, you cut out all those extra costs and you keep it in-house. So in essence, the insurance somewhat rewards you for doing it in the office. So, I've done bunions in the hospital and gotten paid $600-700. I've done bunions in my clinic where I've gotten $2,200, right? So the difference is also 3 hours in the hospital versus 30 to 45 minutes in the clinic, right? So that's definitely something to look into. If you have not learned minimally invasive surgery, or if that's something you want to look into, I would check out the Academy of Minimally Invasive Foot and Ankle Surgery. They have a great annual conference in February. They also do beginner and advanced courses where you can hone your skills. It does take some time. It does take some. It's different than doing open surgery because it's more of a tactile feel and watching on the C arm. But it is something that I would highly recommend you get into your surgical uh, your surgical skills. Something that you can use for your patients because patients want what's simple. They want what's cheap. They don't want to come in for their bunion and you tell them that they need this complete flat foot reconstruction. Sometimes that's what they need, and so I'm not. Don't get me wrong that I'm saying don't do that. But sometimes patients are okay with the band-aid. They're okay with the simple fix. They don't want to be sidelined for 6 months while their flat foot recon with all their bone grafts heals. Uh, so again, look at the Academy of Minimally Invasive Foot and Ankle Surgery. If minimally invasive is what you want to learn, this is more of that academy is more of a non-fixation academy, and that's simply because in your office, fixation is difficult unless you're using like a K-wire. You can't pay for $1,000 screws. You can't pay for plates to come into your clinic and be used in your surgery. So you've got to find other ways, and that's what you learn in the academy is how to do these surgeries with minimal or to no fixation. Um, for me, I do a lot of bunions like the Bosch where I use a K-wire. I'll also do what's called a Reverend Isham bunionectomy, which includes no hardware. I tend to use those on more mild bunions. And my patients are happy. They love the outcome. They love what their foot looks like. They're happy that it was simple. They're in less pain. They've got a faster recovery. They walk out of the office. So if you really want to increase your revenue, these are things you can do. These cash pay ancillaries and minimally invasive surgery. And that's really what I built my practice on. So if that's something you want to learn, um, something you're super interested in, you can definitely reach out to myself. You can reach out on my website at tridentpodiatryconsulting.com, where I do some side consulting. I don't try to charge much for this, just enough to cover my time. I'm not trying to break your bank. What I'm trying to do is help doctors just become more efficient, more effective, and build wealth. Because honestly, we all want to help people, but let's be real. We want to build wealth. We want to get to a point where we're comfortable. We want to get to a point where we can enjoy the greater things in life, such as vacationing, whether that might be homes and whether it might be cars, whether it might be more golf, whatever it is that you enjoy. We want to be able to do more of it. And the great thing about what I'm trying to teach in this podcast, what I try to do with my consulting business is how to get you there. It does take time. For me, it took a good 5-6 years. As they say, it takes about 5 years for your practice to really become successful. And I do believe that. I think there's ways to do it faster. There's mistakes that I made in the beginning, and I try to eliminate those when I consult with my doctors. But it does take time. But anybody can get there as long as you have the drive and that entrepreneurial spirit. Um, I invite anybody who wants to see my clinics and see how I do things. You can definitely come shadow me. You can come see how I do things. I'm not perfect. I'm not the best at what I do, but I do know what I'm doing. One of my big things I see some of these people post how to get a 7-figure practice and how I did a 7-figure practice, how I built a 6-figure practice and sold it for 7 figures 30 years later. Well, in 7 years that I've been in practice, I've gone from 5 figures to 8 figures. So why settle for 7 when you can get 8? That's my opinion. And I think that's possible with any practice, whether you have multiple or whether you have one. It's just a matter of how you do it, how you advertise, how you get patients in your clinic, how you treat them, what types of modalities you have, and what things you can do for them. So if those are things that interest you, I recommend that you reach out on my website. You can also email me at drtrev@elitefaor.com. I'd be happy to talk to you over the phone. I don't charge for any of this. I just want to help docs become more successful. I think as podiatrists, we get screwed a lot. We get hosed a lot by reimbursement. I think we get hosed a lot by the medical community. I think we get treated like garbage. There's ways to do things. Here in Portland, you know, when I first opened up my practice here, nobody paid to call. Nobody paid for call for these doctors, and I started taking call and did it for 5 years for free. Now every hospital, thanks to myself and another doctor, Dr. Kevin Driscoll, who's a good friend of mine, we now have every hospital in the Portland metro area paying podiatry for call, and we have them paying it higher than the national average. I mean, we get you know uh, almost almost $500 a night to be on call, whether we get called or not. So um, there's ways to do things, and there's proper ways to do things, and if you do it right, you can make yourself super successful. And I know anybody can do that if they have the drive. So if you have questions regarding this podcast, I'm going to try to keep them short and sweet, less than 30 minutes, because I think listening longer than that becomes very difficult. Please reach out to me. Um, I'm going to get this posted. I'm going to try to do better at posting once a week. I'm going to talk about different topics. I'll have different guests on these podcasts that can help us show how they did their practices, show what they do to make money. I'm going to try to make this the best kind of podcast I can give you. I don't really want to talk about how I do my surgeries or how I would fix this or how I would fix that. That's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm not trying to tell you that I'm a residency director, or I'm a fellowship director, and I'm trying to do this, and I'm trying to. That's not my goal. My goal is to make you money and make you successful. So thanks everybody for tuning into our second podcast. Again, this is a work in progress. Hopefully they'll get better as they go. I'm new to podcasting, so we'll continue to work on these. And until the next podcast, go make some money and enjoy your family time. Enjoy your life. Thank you.